Hello, I'm Dynas Demir.
So I reached out to another friend of mine. I said, look, I need to go on vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Africa. And not only am I going to go, I'm going to explore a new country. So I went to Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, Mali, Senegal, Morocco, Liberia, Namibia, Kenya, the Voodoo Festival in Ouida, Gambia, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria. It's been a beautiful experience, just learning more about our culture, our indigenous culture. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I'm in search of my roots. In finding that, I would experience my Uhuru, which is freedom.
Till next time, Dynas Demir, I'm out.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. Let me check the mic. Let's make sure I am using the right mic. Yes, I am. Peace, family. I hope all is well. Hope your hump day is going well. Today is Wednesday. I'm so happy to see you all, even though I can't really see you all. I see you guys in the chat. What's it say? You right? Okay, I can't read that. Okay. Anyways, what I'll do, of course, I'll put the link in the chat for you guys to call in. Here in about 30 minutes, give it about 30 minutes, but we have some interesting updates and news to share with you all. And what really disappoints me, I went to the gym today. I'm leaving the gym, headed back to the house. And I was listening to D.L. Hughley. And for some reason, Black media wants to make it seem as if Trump getting arrested is Trump being indicted. They've been telling you guys for the past 6 years. All right. Well, hold on. Let's see. About the past 6-7 years that Trump being indicted is the greatest thing that would ever happen to the Black community. That is the main focus, that Trump is the biggest issue. Meanwhile, you have global politics that are taking place that far outweigh Donald Trump being indicted. Okay. And it's laughable. And it's really sad the way I would say certain entities have put batteries in Black media's back to tell you that the most important thing, the biggest thing affecting the Black community right now is Donald Trump. Not that I think it's in Baltimore where damn near none of the kids could read. Was it Baltimore? I think it was Baltimore, Chicago. None of the kids could read. They're not talking about that. They're not talking about Black children not being able to read and the literacy rate being piss poor in Chicago and Baltimore. They're not talking about that. And they're not talking about what's going on right now in regards to BRICS and these new alliances that are being formed between Saudi Arabia and Iran. I mean, there's a lot going on outside of your immediate community. So I know a lot of y'all just worried about what's going on in your immediate communities, but there's a lot going on. The bank failures. I mean, the list goes on. And did I upload the video? I think I uploaded the video yesterday of the Kenyan president saying pretty much, listen, the US dollar, Y'all deal with that at your own risk. So you have a global community of nations that are starting to wean off dependency or wean away or separate themselves from the US dollar. Meanwhile, you got black folks talking about we built this country and we fight, we don't flee. And I knew this day was coming. I knew this day was coming. That's why I've been telling you guys. Listen, seek other options outside of. Okay, Baltimore is low math score. Chicago was reading. Okay, sorry about that. That's why I've been saying seek other options outside of America. When I say Africa, y'all get offended. Y'all get offended for some reason. So it doesn't have to be in Africa. All right. Check out Panama. Hell, check out Mexico. There are other countries. I would recommend you seek opportunities and look into residency, citizenship. I'm taking a group next month to Sierra Leone to get their passports. Again, seek other opportunities. There we go. We built this country. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. We built this country. Yeah, okay. Well, y'all, we our bones, ancestors, our bones are buried here. Okay, all right. I mean, do you guys realize? And me, I'm Black American. Okay, I'm Black American, but I'm Nigerian and Sierra Leonean. Do you guys realize? And see, we have to zoom out. We have to zoom out and have an honest conversation. Yes, I understand the brutality of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. I get it. I understand. But we have to zoom out. All right. We were the first group of slaves, okay, to build a country. All right. We weren't. Slaves built Rome. And I don't hear the descendants of these slaves who built Rome reminding the Romans or Italians every 10 minutes how we built the country and their bones are buried there. So we weren't the first and we won't be the last. Well, I think because of the consciousness now, the higher consciousness of people, I don't foresee another brutal slave trade like the transatlantic slave trade. Me personally, I don't think it will happen. I don't put anything past people, but I don't think it's going to happen. But again, we weren't the first. And you don't hear all these other groups of people talking about they built the country and they don't flee, they fight, and all this other stuff. Because again, there's a lot going on. Before we get into that, if you have not bought the documentary In Search of Uhuru, please go to searchforuhuru.com. Please go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. That was the trailer that was playing. Now, that documentary is going to fire you up and excite you to go to the continent of Africa and go visit. But for some reason, if you're offended by Africa, listen, just check out Panama. There's other places to check out where you can go Thailand. Check out Thailand. Go check out Thailand. Again, there are other countries that you can check out. I've heard great things about Thailand. I've heard great things about Vietnam. Me personally, like I tell everyone, I'm a West Africa cat. Okay. My homes are going to be in Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Nigeria. Like I said, I'm a West Africa cat. So go to searchforuhuru.com. Also, tours. We are rolling to Sierra Leone, guys. We are rolling to Sierra Leone. April 19th to the 30th. Look at that. Look at that. Where can you find this in America? Hold on. Let's appreciate this. Where can you find this in America? Somebody in the chat, bro, my pops is from Cuba and he literally has the mentality that America is everything. I bought him an AA test and he's midday Sierra Leone. I told him he gets citizenship, but he's not interested. So, King, let me tell you, you can piggyback off your father and get your passport, but he has to come get his passport first. Again, you can piggyback off your father and also get your passport. But see, your dad is holding you back. Listen, Poppy is holding you back. Poppy is holding you back. Oh, well. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe take your own test. Did you take a test? I'm not twisting any arms. All I'm doing is putting the information out there. We're going to have a conversation. That's all. I'm not twisting any arms. I'm just putting the information out there. Because per black media, Donald Trump is the problem. And that man's not even in office. Again, that man is not even in office anymore. But for some reason, he's still the problem. Meanwhile, you have serious issues that are in motion that's going to affect black America. So again, guys, this is Sierra Leone. Look at this. Look at beautiful Sierra Leone. Look at this coastline. I am going to develop. I'm putting this out there right now, guys. I'm putting this out there right now. I am going to play a major role in developing this coastline. Dynasty Mir, I am going to play a major role in developing the hell out of this coastline. I will. Yes, sir. So Sierra Leone, April 19th through the 30th, come and roll. Citizenship is available to those who qualify. Even if you're not eligible for citizenship, still come and roll. Then we're going to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. Again, Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. Nigeria in August for the Oshun Festival. Senegal, excuse me, Senegal in May. Senegal is May 21st to the 30th. Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. That is August 6th to the 15th. Then we're going to cap it off with Zanzibar in November 12th to the 21st, I believe. And yes, they do. They do surf in Sierra Leone. They do surf in Sierra Leone. Guys, hit the like button. Listen, if you're watching this, you have not hitting the like button is your price of entry, okay? The like button is your price of entry. So please hit the like button. I'll greatly appreciate it. So yeah, so come and check us out, family. Again, come and check us out. Go to danfo.africa. That's DANFO.Africa. Again, that's DANFO.Africa to learn more. Now, let me pull up this. Let me pull this up real quick. All right, so let's. Where are we going to start? Where are we going to start? Hold on. Where do I want to start? There's so much to unpack here. Hold on. Let me pull this up. I had made some notes. I had made some notes. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up, guys. Please forgive me. I had made some notes. Operation Sandman. Okay, we're gonna start here. India and China. Let's start here. This is where we're gonna start at. Let's start with India and China. Here we go. Bam. All right. India, China plan to trade in own currency, cut US dollar dominance. A currency exchange vendor counts US dollar notes at Tatakale in Istanbul on March 22nd, 2021. China and India have embarked on separate de-dollaration plans in international transactions and allowed them to settle business in their own currencies. Summary: Russia has been vocal using the Indian rupee for trade and for de-dollarization. Global usage of the yuan prompted African monetary authorities to rethink their forex reserve options. It is argued that the Chinese yuan currency could gain more ground globally this year. Asian economic giants China and India have launched separate programs in an attempt to reduce the dominance of the US dollar in international transactions and allow them to settle business in their own currencies. The strengthening and scarcity of the dollar has sent shockwaves in global foreign exchange markets, leading to a surge in inflation and interest rates. The Reserve Bank of India last week approved central banks from 18 countries, including Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, to open special virtual rupee accounts that will allow them to settle payments in Indian rupees as part of a massive move to the dollarized trade. Data from the East Africa Trade and Investment Report shows EAC's export to India stood at 978 million, and those to China 422 million, 422.600,000 million. On the other hand, the region's imports from India are estimated at 4.21 billion, while those from China and China stood at 7.7 billion. Moscow in tow. India's SVRA's process began in 2022 after the RBI announced that it had decided to put in place an additional arrangement for invoicing, payment, and settlement for exports and imports in Indian rupees. Russia has also been vocal in using the Indian rupee for trade and for dollarization. Moscow, in response to sanctions imposed to it by the West for invading Ukraine, also started asking Western countries to pay in the ruble. Other countries approved by RBI to open SVRAs include Botswana, Fiji, Germany, Guyana, Israel, Malaysia, Mauritius, Myanmar, New Zealand, Oman, Russia, Seychelles, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and the UK. Indian Union Minister of State for Finance, Bhagwat Kishan Rao Kara said that 60 such approvals have been given by the RBI. Let me skip down here. Let's see. Last week, Russian President Vladimir Putin endorsed the Chinese yuan as the currency of choice on the second day of Chinese President Xi Jinping's state visit to Moscow. Yeah. According to courts, the two world leaders signed 14 economic agreements on March 21st, covering everything from scientific cooperation to joint production of television programs as they look to counterbalance the U.S. dollar's worldwide dominance. Putin especially mentioned the Chinese currency in the context of Russian investments in the developing world. We are in favor of using the Chinese yuan for settlements between Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, Putin said. There you go. All right. Now let's jump to some other major news that, again, they didn't talk about. Your media is not talking about. Instead, they're still talking about Donald Trump. rivals Saudi Arabia, and we talked about this the other day. Rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran restore ties with China's help. Here's why it matters. We'll go ahead and listen to it.
Today, there is news of warming relations between two big adversaries in the Mideast, Iran and Saudi Arabia. The two oil giants have been on opposing sides in wars from Syria to Yemen. Saudi Arabia even says Iran was behind a stunning attack on its oil facilities back in 2019. But the possible break in these tensions comes from an unexpected place, China, which helped broker a deal between these countries. NPR's Aya Batrawi covers the Gulf and joins us now from London. Hi, Aya.
Hi, Elsa.
So, what exactly does this deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia include?
This deal essentially says that these two regional rivals are going to resume full diplomatic ties, which means they're going to open their embassies again in one another's countries. And this is huge because 7 years ago, they had ruptured ties, and Saudi Arabia's embassy in Tehran was ransacked by Iranian protesters who were angry at a mass execution in Saudi Arabia that included the killing of a prominent Saudi Shia cleric. So, what this agreement does is it says the foreign ministers are going to directly talk to one another. They're going to revive security agreements and trade and investment agreements. And all of this is supposed to happen within 2 months.
Wow, that's really fast. Well, what effect could this have on stability or security in the region?
I mean, this could reverberate widely, especially in places like Syria and Yemen. And the reason is because in Syria, Saudi Arabia and Iran have been backing opposing sides of that conflict. But that conflict now is almost in a stalemate in most of parts of Syria. So we could see tensions there, going down. But also in Yemen, where Saudi Arabia has been involved in a war there against Iranian-backed Houthi militia groups, this could also help wind down that conflict, which Saudi Arabia desperately wants to get out of. So it could lead to a permanent ceasefire there. But it could also impact countries like Lebanon and Iraq, where there are Iranian-backed militias. Think about Hezbollah in Iran, for example. That activity could go down as well. So this could really have a positive impact on many countries.
Well, I understand that this whole deal was announced during the annual leadership meeting in China. What do you think that says about the way China perceives its role in the Middle East?
There's no doubt, Elsa, that China is an ambitious global power, and this is a diplomatic win for Beijing. China's neutrality in the region, and it is a major buyer of oil from Iran and Saudi Arabia, has allowed them to play this role to their advantage. They have a policy of non-interference in the Middle East, which basically means you're not going to see Beijing criticizing neither Iranians nor Gulf Arab leaders for things like human rights and human rights records in their countries. So China is really using that hands-off approach to assert its influence. And this is the first time we've seen China broker a deal like this in the Middle East.
Well, is China brokering a deal something that's going to change the U.S.'s role in the region? Because usually it seems like it's the U.S. that tries to make these Mideast agreements happen, right?
I mean, the US says anything that de-escalates tensions is in America's interests. I mean, that's their response to this announcement from China. But there's no doubt that this reflects real concerns among Gulf Arab states that the US is focused now on other parts of the world like Ukraine or China and is not the security partner that it once was in the Gulf. But despite these tensions, the US is still the top security partner for Gulf Arab states, and it is an unmatched superpower in the world at the moment. And Saudi Arabia still relies heavily on the US for its weapons and air defenses. But this definitely puts the US on notice that China's ambitions are growing.
That is NPR's Aya Batrawi. Thank you so much, Aya.
Thank you.
And now, more from NPR.
All right, there's something else I want to look up as well. Oh, here we go. From the Kenyan president. Here we go, right here. Hold on. Yeah, so hold on, let me go in the chat room real quick. Right. So with the dollar with the dollar shortage and them having to seek other avenues or options as far as money, I mean, that's still not a win for the American dollar. The American dollar, which is backed by pretty much being the reserve currency of the planet, now you're saying people are starting to wean themselves off of that, different countries. I mean, um, that's not a win. That's still not a win. Yeah, that's still not a win.
As de-dollarization,
Here we go. Perfect.
as de
All right, here we go.
As de-dollarization of the international economy is gaining momentum. This is spearheaded by powerful countries like China and Russia. At the recent state visits by Chinese President Xi Jinping in Russia, President Vladimir Putin indicated that they're in favor of using Chinese currency for trade in other parts of the world, like Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The Kremlin has been slapped with a raft of sanctions by the Western world for invading Ukraine.
Для нас была и остается тематика торгово-экономического взаимодействия.
A serious incentive for the development of trade and investment cooperation is the expansion of the practice of settlements between our countries in national currencies. According to the results of the first 3 quarters of last year, the share of ruble and yuan in mutual commercial transactions reached 65% and continues to grow, which allows us to protect mutual trade from the influence of third countries and negative trends in global currency markets.
Отметку в 200 миллиардов долларов.
Another BRICS country, India, has indicated that it's putting into place a mechanism for international trade settlements in rupees. The Indian currency will allow New Delhi to bypass using the US dollar in case of sanctions. India is also a major buyer of Russian arms, and Indian refineries have started paying for most of their Russian oil in other currencies rather than the US dollar. Meanwhile, Kenyan President William Ruto has unveiled a plan to deal with the dollar crisis.
As a government, we have made innovative intentions and undertaken innovative strategy to ensure that we ease the burden of availability of dollar in our market. We just concluded last week an arrangement, a market-driven arrangement in our fuel sector that will see Kenya access all our fuel needs on a deferred 6-month credit. That will eliminate a demand of $500 million every month from this market. And therefore, for the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses.
As India gears up to host the G20 summits later this year, and the issue of currency recognition is set to dominate the discussions among the influential economies.
The issue of the competition between the major powers about their currencies is an ongoing issue. For instance, as we speak, the Chinese have managed to make sure that in the IMF, the renminbi is also recognized as one of the currency. So there's always going to be that contestation between for currency recognition for purposes of trading.
Meanwhile, Americans remain optimistic that the dollar will continue to serve as a global reserve currency. Kylie Kumalo, SABC News.
All right, links in the chat room. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We will be right back. Again, link is in the chat room. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. We will be right back.
Alexis here, coming to you with an awesome sale of 25% off when you use promo code OHURU25 at alexisfowler.com. I provide services like digital art, logo designs, packaging designs, web designs, social media flyers, and much more. If you're an entrepreneur with a business or a startup company, make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, getting 25% off when you use promo code OHURU25 at alexisfowler.com.
Learn the ins and outs of IT and launch your IT career in just a matter of weeks with the help of Lifting the Veil IT Academy.
I took Lifting the Veil Academy with some. Took a while, but I'm here. I made it. I'm now an SSRS developer. I started on the 13th, making a rate of $48 an hour.
Sign up for a free consultation and see where this industry could take you.
To learn more, go to www.ltvacademy.com. That's www.ltvacademy.com.
Wilfred, go ahead, brother.
Oh, hi. Am I?
You're live. Let's go. You're live.
Oh, shit. All right. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Dynast. Good morning, everyone. Although I don't know what time it is in the US. I'm in Germany. It's basically late.
Right.
Actually, I just came to because I'm interested in what other people have to say. As an introduction, I just would like to say that I agree with you. This is a very important topic that you don't hear anything about in the medias, even though the world is literally changing dramatically around us. But when it comes to the mainstream media in the Western world, you don't hear anything about it. I basically decided to call because as I saw the announcement of this show, I was actually watching a video of, let me look at his name. Oh, shit. Of an economist named Richard Wolff. He's an American, actually, and he's Yale University graduate, alumni, basically. And the name of the video is Ask Prof. Wolff, is the US dollar in trouble? And he's basically explaining, sorry for the camera, how the US dollars is gonna basically lose its value within the next 10 to 15 years. And if you look at the medias, you don't hear anything about it. You don't hear anything about the geopolitical shift happening. Like, for instance, the fact that the BRICS not only are getting stronger, but are going to be, the group is going to become even bigger because, well, BRICS, for those who don't know, that's an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And now that the world is shifting because of the Ukraine war and the international context, many other countries want to get in. And it seems that Saudi Arabia, Iran, if I am correct, Indonesia, Pakistan, and even Nigeria in Africa are going to, are willing basically to integrate the group. And as I know, the group is now speaking stronger as the G7. So, well, I'd like to hear what other people have to say. So that's what I have to say first.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Jody. Jody, unmute yourself.
Oh, my bad. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. Like I came on because I like this. Like Wilford here, he said he really didn't want to hear what everybody, a lot of other people say. And my background is technical analyst, and I do hear a lot of people say the dollar is going down, and the dollar is the world reserve currency will no longer be in the future, and the BRICS and the BRICS Plus and Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) ... So I feel like a lot of people are on this tip because of recent economic events starting in January, precisely starting in January 2022. Also, things more intermediate with the bank failures and people worried about their income, not their income, but their money in their banks. And so a lot of it's in the ether now. A lot of people are hearing about what's going on, listening to people who have been in the space, like you said, Richard Wolff and others, talking about what's going on and how the dollar was going to fail. Look, it's not just the dollar. Yeah, the primary direction of the US dollar is down. But since 2008, the dollar's been going up. The dollar peaked from 2008 cent to 2022, I believe, September, October 2022 last year. Nobody said about, no one was talking, well, I don't say no one, but the same people that you hear on these YouTube streets talking about the dollar going down, a lot of them weren't talking about the dollar going up in that 14-year period. And also, more specifically, last year, when the dollar was going around causing havoc to a lot of other currencies around the world. It's not that just the dollar's primary direction is down, it's other currencies too. All those countries that make up the BRICS, their currency, their primary direction is also down. So it's not just the dollar. The dollar just happens to have a standard in the world. But other countries' currencies are also in the same boat as the dollar. And it's something else I want people to really, a lot of people tend to parrot what they hear on media, on social media, YouTube in particular, that, oh, the BRICS, the BRICS, the BRICS. Okay, fine and dandy. I'm not saying the dollar is going to continue to be the world reserve currency in the future, into the future perpetually. What I'm saying is, America is America. Before America, it was Great Britain. Before Great Britain, it was the Netherlands, uh, where the currency was strong. It was revealed in the world in that time period as a strong currency. Now you're talking about 5 or 6 plus countries that's coming together that are saying, hey, we're going to deplatform the dollar as not the world reserve currency, but trading currency. Those are 5 countries who have to continuously agree with each other in terms of, okay, we're going to use this currency or that currency. Just because countries come together and say we're going to deplatform the dollar as the world reserve currency does not necessarily mean that that's going to be the not the preserve, but the preferred currency to trade in, as long as the dollar has been the world reserve currency. So it's fine. What I'm trying to say is, yes, okay, if you want to celebrate the demise of the dollar for something else, that doesn't necessarily mean that the something else is going to be better or more stable than what the dollar has been for decades.
Right. So we're not saying that these other options are going to be better options. What we're saying is that, you know, um, the U.S. dollar being, I guess, the reserve currency of the world, people are starting to look in other, in other directions, which could pose a problem.
So when you say people, and again, I want to make this clear, I'm not picking on you, Dynasty. It's just that I hear this through a bunch of spaces. So people, are these people, and anyone can answer this question, are these people living in America or outside of America?
Outside.
So the people outside of America,
and inside. I mean, because you have a crypto community that's growing as well.
Okay, now American, as an American, the dollar is strong around the world compared to other currencies.
For now,
right? Okay,
but
for
what
now.
I'm saying is that's changing.
Just because it changes, don't mean it's going to continuously be that way. So because things change, things go up and down. So as an American that make American income, and even as a person I'm not from the UK, but as a person that's living in the UK that make British pound income, you go to a country, we talk about the black community, black people from these 2 particular areas, go to pick insert African country here, and where their currency is strong compared to that particular African country, why on earth would those people want their income to go down? That doesn't make sense. So you have, we're both American. You have American income, and you go to, let's say, Sierra Leone. The dollar compared to the Sierra Leonean dollar is strong. So that means your purchasing power in Sierra Leone is strong. You can buy more things compared to an average Sierra Leonean citizen. But now you American, not specifically you, but a Black American that go to Sierra Leone, you want your dollar to lose its purchasing power. That's insane. That doesn't make any sense. And you can apply the same logic to a person living in the UK that earn British pound. That doesn't make any sense. So my question is to people: why are you on saying, "Oh, the BRICS, yay, the BRICS," and you going to Africa, any African country with these foreign income? Why are you cheering for your income to lose purchasing power compared to wherever you want to go? It doesn't make sense. So that's what I'm trying to say. People tend to parrot what they hear and not put real deep thought into what they're saying.
Sorry about that, guys. I had to take a call. No, but again, what we're saying. Well, so even here in America, Jody, the dollar is losing. Dude, I went to the grocery store, like the what I used to buy at the grocery store last year. Dude, those same items, I'm paying like 20 to 30% more for.
But that's just not America. That's everywhere in the world. What you're saying is the dollar is losing purchasing power in America, and every other place in the world is not. It's the same thing throughout the world. For people that live in the UK right now, they can say the same thing.
I disagree because it depends on what you buy and where you buy it. Because I'm
No,
not okay, when I go to the local markets in Sierra Leone and Freetown and Lagos, I'm not paying as much. I mean, the price hasn't jumped up in regards to reflect inflation the way it has here in America. Again, I just think where you're buying, what you're buying, it depends.
but you can say the same thing in America, depending on where you live in America. A person that live in New York, what they buy at the local bodega is probably going to be more expensive compared to a person that's living in rural Mississippi. You can say the same thing. And I'm not saying it to muddy the waters, but what I'm saying is, okay, you went to Sierra Leone and you saw that your purchasing power was relatively the same compared to what you bought 10 months ago.
Right.
But that is now. That doesn't mean that it won't change in the future.
And again, it depends. Like, of course, gas is up. I mean, globally. I mean, gas
Right.
is up.
Yeah, it's
But,
so
but what I'm saying is like the necessities, from what I noticed when I'm in Africa, haven't jumped the way it has here in America.
okay. So I'm going to
So
you don't realize you playing into what I'm saying, and I'm going to tie it, and I'm going to make you realize that you playing into what I just said. First, we live in what's deemed a first world country: America, Canada, Australia, Western Europe, and a few other countries scattered around. Okay, those first world countries tend to have a more sensitive system in terms of what you purchase. The supply shock or the sticker price shock is more it's more dynamic. It's faster. So like you said, what you spent at the grocery store in Atlanta a few months ago compared to now, you can visually see that there's a difference. Same as the people that live in the UK, same as the people that live in Canada, Australia, Western Europe. In these other countries, it's not as quick to show up, such as in Sierra Leone, any African country, DR, Haiti, some countries in South America. What I'm saying is, if you as a person, and when I say you, I'm not specifically saying you, I'm saying you as a general person, go to an African country with this first world currency, and then you can live in that other current country with this first world income. then do that. So I'm reiterating
No,
why.
but see, I think what you're not understanding is when I go to these other countries, when I'm at the local markets, they don't take. I'm spending in their local currency. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? The prices in their local currency from last year to now have not jumped the way it has here in America.
right.
Just for necessity.
I'm saying the same thing. Those though the purchasing power has, like you said, the purchasing power has not jumped as quickly in those other countries, like it has in these first world countries. So why not take advantage of that by having a first world income for those that are that have the freedom, like yourself, to live in these other, to go to these other countries. Why not continuously make American income, Canadian income, Australian income, European income, whatever, first world income, and live in these or go to these other countries and live, lack of a better word, lavish lifestyle.
Right, but again, I think you're missing a point. Again, I understand what you're saying, but once again, the normal goods and normal, let's say, everyday goods and services have jumped expeditiously here in America versus over there. But I
I
do
agree.
understand what you're saying as far as the, take your U.S. dollar and spend it over in these other countries. I mean, I get that. Go ahead, Lee Clinton. Go ahead, Lee Clinton.
So yeah, I just want to ask Jody a question. Is your argument that we should be against BRICS because our money will be longer in Africa? Is that your argument?
No, that's not my argument. I do agree things come to an end. That's not my argument. My argument is, why are people that live in America viciously rooting for the end of the dollar? That's
I
what I'm
think it's
asking.
I think it's a I think it's
No,
a
no,
bigger.
no. We're not rooting for the end of the dollar. We're
Yeah,
just dealing with reality that the dollar is not again, the dollar is losing its place in regards to, being the reserve currency and being the almighty king of the fiat system globally. That's what we're saying. So we're just saying you need to prepare.
But that's a new argument for those that
uh,
are now listening to this argument. That argument's been going on for
The
years.
argument's been going
Yeah,
on for
right.
years.
Because
Yeah,
right.
right.
But it's
Because
because it's been somebody needs to mute themselves. I think that's you, Darren.
I think that's you, Derek.
Hello. Yeah, Darren, you got Darren. This the feedback for some reason, Darren. It's like an echo. Yeah, what we're saying is what people have been saying is you need to pay attention because this has been showing itself for years now, and now it's coming to a head. It's starting to come to a head. So people are
It's
just
starting to
saying
come
you
to
need
it.
to get ready.
It started to come to a head because you're hearing these 5 or 7 countries trying to form a financial agreement. That's what you're
Well,
saying.
BRICS has been in play for a while now, but now everything's starting to speed up even more. In regards to you have countries under BRICS, they're like, listen, we're going to partner with BRICS.
Again, I want to clarify. I'm not rooting for the demise of BRICS. I'm not rooting for America to be the hegemony around the world. I'm not rooting for that. What I'm trying to figure out is, why are people living in the country, why they're rooting for the demise of that country's currency?
They're
Because
not
No,
Jody. We're
most
not
people.
Jody. We're not rooting for it. We're telling people to prepare for
but
what's coming down
okay,
the
now
pipeline.
I understand that, but when you listen to people talk about the BRICS, they're talking about it in the realm of, oh, the American dollar is going to fall. That's one of their talking points.
But
it
it's
doesn't mean I'm
it's
rooting
going it's
for
going it's,
for the
it's
demise
looking
of the
like it's
dollar.
going
Sorry,
in
it's
that
totally
direction.
different.
But it's looking like it's going in that
I mean,
direction, Jody. That's the point we're trying to
Oh, no,
make. So
no.
we're just
Again,
saying prepare. That's all we're
I
saying is prepare.
okay, but yes, it may be going in that direction. But what I'm saying is, when you hear people around these YouTube streets, and particularly in Black YouTube, they're not speaking about the BRICS and the demise of the dollar in terms of, oh, let's prepare. They're not speaking about it in those terms, because if they were speaking about it in those terms, then the other side of the argument, you would see, okay, then What do we do in order to prepare for that whenever it may come? I haven't heard that side of the argument.
Yeah, the
So
side of
if
the
so,
side of the argument for me is I would say buy Bitcoin, seek opportunities outside of America.
but that's the extent of it, and that's the extent of it because I've just heard you say that now.
Whoa, Jordan, I've been saying that. I've been saying that.
Now my thing with Bitcoin is this: I'm not I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, and I'm not a Bitcoin hater.
And guys, this is not financial advice, by the way.
Oh
This is
yeah,
not
that's not
financial
financial
advice.
advice. You
Okay.
know, I've bought cryptocurrency, I've sold cryptocurrency, but you can't blanketly say not okay. Let me not just say you, because when I say you, I mean it in a general term. Anybody, a person cannot blanketly say buy Bitcoin, because if a person blanketly said to buy Bitcoin and other people took that person's advice, if it was financial or not financial advice, then they would be down 60+% on their purchase of Bitcoin, coupled with a high inflation rate, depending on wherever they live. So what I'm trying to say is
Right, but
anything.
I didn't. But I never said take all of your money and buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah.
Buy Bitcoin. I would suggest Bitcoin and gold.
But why gold?
As a hedge against inflation.
Why gold?
As a hedge against inflation.
Uh,
A storage of value.
You realize
So
gold goes
Dynas,
up and down, right?
Yeah, they all go up and down, of course.
so
So my
Dynas, would
question.
you say
Go
that?
ahead.
I'm sorry to interject. I was going to say, Dynas, would you say Bitcoin and gold is more of a, for lack of a term, a universal currency, and it would be more safer than any one particular country's currency?
I can tell you right now, when I travel to Nigeria, I can. So here we go. Let's break it down this way. Say I travel overseas. Number one, I can't carry more than $10,000 worth of cash on me at any given time. Oh, I'm sorry, as far as leaving America. Number two, the way the U.S. dollar is set up. Say you do a SWIFT transfer, they're going to ask you a million different questions. You got to sign this form. You got to sign that form. You go to the bank. As you can see, these different countries are starting to wean off the dollar. So you might run into a situation where you can't have access to your dollars. So from my experience, everywhere else, especially in Nigeria, they'll take Bitcoin in a second. I keep it on my ledger, my phone, and it's a straight transfer, no middleman. And I'm telling you, everything's starting to shift in that direction.
So one thing you said, you can't carry more than 10,000 cash,
Right.
And so that's not just America. It's called capital flight. And any country, not just America, any country is going to guard against capital flight. Even China, which is in the BRICS, they guard against capital flight. Even Russia, which is in the BRICS, they guard against capital flight. So it's not just America. I don't know if these other countries have a higher threshold that you can take with you on in cash on a plane flight, but that's not just specifically America.
Right. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah.
Alan.
Basically, what I want to do is I want to clarify what a lot of people are cheering. I don't think anybody's.
Hey, Alan, you're real low.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Go ahead.
All right. I don't think anybody's cheering on this idea that our money is going to go in the toilet or anything like that. I don't think anybody's doing that. What I do think people are cheering on, especially in Black spaces, is the end of global white hegemony, which is what you're seeing. I think a lot of people who are very serious about their Pan-Africanism, even the white people who are very serious about their socialism or whatever else, are cheering on that. And I think that's what you're looking at it from a micro perspective. I think we're talking, the people who are talking about it are not just dumb people who are just talking. They're talking about it from a macro perspective and about this, about the Great Reset that we knew was going to happen, where, you have countries blatantly saying that things are changing for the first time in 100 years in a way that we haven't seen since that time. That is what people are focused on, and everything like that. Yes, everything you're saying is true in terms of your currency, and devaluing your currency in the short term is not going to be good for you as someone who lives in the country. But I think what, as Dynas was saying, people are looking at it. People need to prepare. That's the reason why Dynas had this channel, and he was telling people all along, helping people get citizenship, helping people have options. There've been white guys or white channels that I've watched, like Nomad Capitalists, who've been telling people the same message for the past 10 years.
Yes.
That de-dollarization is a possibility. You need to be prepared, and you need to do what's go where you're treated best.
Yeah.
Is his phrase.
And again,
so that's what I think. That's what you're missing.
No,
that people
I'm not missing that. I'm not missing that. What I'm trying. Okay, I want to applaud Dynas for doing it, for getting people citizenship. Dynas, I applaud you. As they say, I give you your flowers now. I applaud you for that. Thank you. I sincerely thank you for that. What I'm getting at is, I do not see, from what I've heard around specifically Black YouTube, when they speak about this particular topic surrounding the U.S. dollar stopping from being the global reserve currency, from the BRICS taking over, from China, that whole financial, not I'm saying financial, but currency, foreign exchange currency topic, I do not hear the other part of that saying, well, how are we going to face this headwind in the future? I do not. Only thing I hear is, oh, the BRICS, oh, the dollar reserve currency. I do not hear the other side of that token as much as I hear about the ruminating of the BRICS and the Shanghai cooperation and the dollar ceasing from being the world reserve currency. I do not. And let's be honest, a lot of people don't either.
Hey, go ahead.
I actually don't hear the argument. What you're saying that you hear, I haven't heard that pretty much. But
Thank you.
I would say that the world is shifting, and as Pan-Africanists, we see what's going on in Africa. We see now Uganda is passing a bill, anti-LGBT bill. America has said that if they do that, they're going to hit them with economic sanctions. So what will Uganda do? Are they just going to sit back and starve? No, they're going to go to China. They're going to go to Russia. They're going to do business with whoever. You see in South Africa, the head of the EFF, I forgot his name, Julian, help me out. Right. He just said, if Putin comes here, we're not going to arrest him. And then we just heard Putin he gave a forgiveness for $20 billion of loans. So I think overall, piggybacking off what Alan was saying, is about keeping your open mind on a global spectrum of how all this stuff ties in, right? Because again, going back to Uganda, which we see in they're pretty much on a hard line of their culture, that's going to affect the economy. Same thing with Ghana. We see Kamala was just over there. The president, he tried to walk the tightrope, but their parliament is like, no, we got a bill coming through. We're not with the LGBTism. So that might affect their economy. And you're going to see other countries, they're weighing in on all these geopolitical things that's going on. And all of this stuff is going to affect the economy. So us, even though we're just people and individuals, we have to keep an open mind to these things. So I don't know. I think what Dynas is saying as far as, having options and having just having an open mind and having different options and not being pigeonholed just to the dollar alone, I think is a smart thing to do.
And I agree with that. Go ahead, Darren. Buckner, go ahead and unmute yourself, Darren. Darren, you got to mute yourself. Okay, he muted. So go ahead, Real Deal Financial.
I'll let Darren go.
Darren, you got to unmute yourself.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Good. Go ahead.
I'm gonna let the other gentleman go real quick. Give me just a minute, okay, Dynas? Thanks, man.
Okay.
Now I want to say something really quickly. Now, when it comes to the skills that's needed, Forex, and I'm not talking about middle-level marketing of Forex. I'm not a person that preaches Forex on my channels, but when it comes to the diaspora, Those guys are straight up beast in trading Forex. Now, if we see a shift, oil and gas futures has been up 2022 because of the Ukraine scenarios.
Oil and gas
Commodities
futures
has
have not
been
been up. Stop that. The oil and gas futures have not been up because I trade futures.
2022. Did you hear what I
Okay,
said?
2022. I apologize.
2022 had record profits.
No, you trade oil and gas in
Oil and gas
2022,
and the oil and gas
and you saying
futures,
it's been up?
people made money in 2022.
Trading
I'm
oil and gas.
preferencing 2022.
Trading oil and gas.
Yes.
And it's been up in 2022.
No, I'm talking about the year of 2022 had record level of profits. I'm preferencing what I'm saying. I get you are trying to shoot everybody with holes.
No, I'm not.
preferentially
I'm not.
talking about the skills that are needed from people from the US to compete with people that are already in the continent that can trade 4 or 5 times better than the average African American that's going there. Simple as that. I'm just saying about when it comes to the whole situation of BRICS, Turkey is joining. People need to be more informed when it comes to what is going on in commodities, because it seems like they're using their commodity prowess in creating oil cartels. What's the flaw in that logic? If we can clearly see that everybody is ganging up on the oil and gas. So at the end of the day, get your skills up, because if you come over there, there's going to be a lot of ninja traders that can be able to trade hyper quickly, and they're dealing with less resources and getting to the money. Shout out to the Forex billionaires in Nigeria. I'm done.
Okay.
Well, let me pass it to the Fox. Go ahead. The Fox, go ahead.
What's up, family? Yeah, so pretty much for me, I guess what kind of rang the alarm or made it stand out more so than anything else is just the first thing that came to my mind was the last time somebody tried to do something in terms of currency, and that was Gaddafi. And we seen how the US went to war about it. Yeah, I mean, or NATO rather went to war about it with Gaddafi, because he was trying to back his dollar with gold, to my understanding. And then from what I'm hearing, China's trying to do the same thing. They say China's been buying gold like crazy, and they're going to back it with something. So it's just going to make, the US dollar look like monkey money, like, you're just throwing around paper or whatever. So the reason, I feel like more people are, because the other brother seemed like he don't understand why it's a big deal, but it seemed like if we just study recent history, like, and you look at the climate, it's only one or two options for the US, where it's like you either gonna go to war about your dollar, or you just gonna sit around and watch it tank. And my money is that they probably gonna go war about their dollar, because if they don't have nothing else, they do have a very strong military. And it's like, well, what else? You ain't got no other cards to play. So that's why it's a big deal to me. But like Dinah said, I think it's important to diversify your portfolio. Yeah, I mean, dollar is cool, but now it's time for us to kind of graduate to, having a diverse portfolio.
Amen to that.
Again, I reiterate, I'm not trying to on here to poke holes in people's argument. I'm not on here for that. But this is nothing short of a play-by-play of what's currently going on geopolitically in the world. That's all it is.
I get that, but what are you saying exactly? Not to say
I'm trying to figure
wait,
out
real quick, because I'm not saying that you have to put forward an argument, but are you standing on anything? Like, what are you saying?
Because I mentioned about skills and I got shouted down.
Hold on, Joe. Yeah, Joe, that's a good question. So what are you saying?
No, what the reason I question what you're saying, real deal, was when you said that oil and gas. You said oil and gas was up in 2022.
But even if I was wrong, what was wrong of me mentioning about Forex and how the African diaspora trades Forex more than the average African American?
I didn't mention anything about not trading Forex.
Because I'm talking about mainly about the skill set. Because BRICS, it seems like only body that's going to win is people that are focusing on commodities, trading, Forex, or have a prowess like you. It seems like you have an understanding of geopolitics.
Okay, I can't believe I'm saying this.
I'm not knocking what you're saying. I'm just saying when it comes to skills.
Okay, I can't believe I'm going this. I'm going to go the way of the Sith Lord. We have to stop conflating what I did not talk about
Mhm.
when you talk. I didn't say anything about trading forex. I didn't say anything about getting skills up.
I'm saying as a solution.
Hey, but real
I
deal.
don't
He
know.
has a
I
point.
don't know.
You're
I'm done.
conflating issues
I'm
because
done.
you kind of got me. The Fox, the Fox. Unmute yourself and ask your question again, the Fox.
I was just pretty much asking, like, because I see you launching the counter arguments, but like, what exactly are you standing on as far as, are you just saying this topic isn't worth talking about, or like, what are
No,
you
no,
standing on exactly?
I am not saying this topic is not worth talking about. I am not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, if you have a group of black people, no matter where they are from, I'm not in this situation. I'm not going to separate African American from Afro Canadian or Afro British. I'm not any diasporan black person that is listening to this right now, and you live in a first world country. If you are talking about your that country's native currency going down and talking about it in terms of, okay, you got this over here, it's going to go down, this currency is going to go down. If you are not making plans to leave that country, if you see that coming on, that country's currency going down, that purchasing power going down on the horizon, if you're not making plans on leaving that country, then why are you talking about it?
Because people, again, as I said, have a macro perspective where if you take your global view of Pan-Africanism seriously, or whatever it is that your global view is, you want to see, what you want to see is, you want to see the end of global Western or white hegemony. And so what we're seeing for the first time in over a century is the hegemony, it becoming multipolar and switching. We have African nations and Caribbean nations, other places with options in terms of what they can do with the money. It's all because they're finally able to stand up. 5 years ago, you would not have African countries doing anything the United States did not want, because they would fear the sanctions and they would have no place else to go. Well, now they have other places to go. So people who look at things from a broader perspective are cheering that on. That is the reason why they're cheering it. And it's not, out of spite for America in terms of the dollar, stuff like that. Because yes, you're right. In the short term, it does kind of hurt you because your money is worth less. But that's why channels like this were created, so that he can warn people that, listen, you may want to consider going someplace else. And that's been going on in the black spaces for quite a while now. And,
Okay.
it's to be applauded.
Again, you said countries are standing up to America. I'm
Correct.
not disputing that. What I'm saying is, what is a person that live in a first world country is going to do to protect themselves and their progeny from a disruption in their first world lifestyle if that country's currency is going to decline?
And Jody, like I've been saying from the beginning, it's called diversify. Seek other
How?
options outside of America.
How?
Thank you.
I already said how.
No, not
I've already
specifically
said
you.
how.
Again, Dinus, I applaud you for doing what you're doing. I'm not specifically saying you. I'm saying the people that talk about this, short of not saying how. It's easy to say skills. It's easy to say surface level things. Short of that, it's only play by play of what's going on in the world geopolitically.
So what are we supposed to do if we're not getting skillful of the transition? Clearly that's happening. I don't get where is the tie-in where the people in the audience can benefit from what you're saying, if it's not about skills or some level of aptitude for business in some sort.
People are not benefiting.
Because this is business. BRICS is shifting everything.
People in the audience, not specifically this audience, but in the audience that talk in the black spaces that talk about this, are not benefiting.
Well, we're talking about this audience. This audience is smart enough to latch on to
Okay, let's
what's
talk about
going
this
on.
audience. Let me step back. I'll step back. I'll shut my mouth and allow the panel. No. I'm allowing you all to give the other side of that coin of how to take advantage of your American, British, first world currency and diversify yourself. I step back.
Jody,
I concede the mic.
Jody,
I concede the mic.
I don't understand homie's trip. I really
Yeah,
don't.
Jody,
'Cause
you
I'm
tripping,
trying to
man.
ask a question.
Jody, you
talk
tripping,
about
bro.
it.
Jody,
Talk
you're
about
tripping,
it.
I'm trying
bro.
to ask a question,
No,
brother.
I'm
I'm
not. I'm
coming
not.
in with
Jody,
this attitude.
Talk
you're
about
tripping,
it.
bro. Jody, you're tripping.
Stop
Man.
focusing on me and talk about how
but
we're gonna.
you're tripping, Jody. I mean,
Okay.
I've said it
Oh
in the
my
beginning. I've been doing shows on it. All I'm saying is look at other opportunities outside of America.
But what does it look like?
Okay, so I'll give you a prime example. In Panama, you can get residency for $5,000 as long as you start a business. It's easy to get residency in countries like Sierra Leone and Senegal as long as you start a business. Diversifying assets. Me, I'm big on Bitcoin and gold. I'm taking a group next month to get citizenship in Sierra Leone. I myself have 3 passports. People are looking at citizenship opportunity. People are relocating to, I guess that would be considered East Asia. You look at Thailand, you look at Vietnam. I mean, you got the white guy, nomad capitalist. I'm just saying the same thing nomad capitalist is saying as well.
Yes, and I
Go where
look
you're
at
treated best.
and I do look at his shows. I'm gonna say Greg, but he live in Colombia, Georgia,
No,
Belgrade.
I think he's in Eastern Europe.
And no, he live in 3 places. In
Right.
in Malaysia.
Right.
And yes, I don't want people coming on here attacking me saying that, oh, we talk about on here. I said 5 minutes ago, I applaud Diners for doing it.
Okay.
I said that.
So what's the holdup?
Again,
Why bring an argument that's not here on this panel?
Say again.
I said, why bring an argument on the panel that's not here?
That's not spoken about
Because you're saying that you hear this other places. You don't. But why bring that argument? If no one is saying that here, why bring it here?
You know what? You got me on that, and I apologize on that. I apologize on that.
Yo, I have a question, right? So, China is stacking itself up with gold, right? If you look at history, Britain and the U.S. have been extracting gold from Africa for centuries. China just started to develop into a first world country, or whatever you want to call it, within the past century. So how do you expect them to catch up and disrupt the U.S. dollar all of a sudden? That's the only question I have to ask.
That's a good question, but I mean, it kind of assumes that China doesn't have good intel and that they might have bad intel. Like somebody just might be bad at math in China, no pun intended or whatever. But I would imagine that they're not just buying it for funsies, that they do see a way in which that they can shift the global market by acquiring all this gold or enough gold. But yeah, I understand your point because we don't have the numbers laid out all in front of us, but the way it looks, it does look like they have a move that they're going to make. I'll just leave it at that.
It seems to me like they're playing catch up, but to be honest, centuries of resources extracted from Africa, all that backs up the euro.
So let me ask you this. Because that's a really good point, though. So why would America drop the gold standard if they have this infinite supply of gold?
Maybe they have something else under this, and you really don't know. I mean, I personally don't
I
know.
think they might have dropped it because they might not have as much gold as, they might not have that infinite supply. So
Well,
they
it's easier
dropped
to
it.
export dollars. It's
Right. I don't
easier
believe
to
the
export
U.S. has
dollars
as
because,
much.
as we can see, that the U.S. dollar is only good for exporting dollars all over the world.
Okay, for those that don't know, America did not have the amount of gold that people wanted back in 1972, 1971, when Nixon was in office. They saw that people, not want to say people, countries wanted their gold back because America was keeping other countries' gold. More France, and France wanted their gold back. They were sending the ship over to America to get their gold back, and they saw that the gold reserves that they did have back in the 70s, I'm not talking about now, was depleting fast and rapidly. That's when Nixon said, "Okay, we're going to default on what we owe people, and we're going to give you this dollar. We're going to give you this stuff because the gold that they had in Fort Knox and whatever other place they were holding the gold in was depleting fast, and they did not have the gold
to give everyone. And if they did have to go to give everyone, every country, I gotta differentiate here, that America would not have gold itself. So Nixon defaulted on the country's obligations, and that's when the world went off the gold standard.
My bad, real quick. Let me pass it to DMV Pat. Go ahead, DMV Pat.
Hey, I can't hear y'all, so I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Okay. All right, Darren, you ready, Darren?
Gentlemen, how y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good. Good. Hey, I was kind of just peeping in and out on what you guys were discussing, and I heard guys talking about BRICS and the U.S. dollar, and people want to demise. They want to make sure the U.S. dollar goes down, and they're cheering it on. And when I heard that, I was kind of a little disappointed to even hear such a thing. First of all, if you are in America, whether you are pro-Africa, non-pro-African, pan-Africanist, whatever you are, if you're in America, there's no way I don't see anyone really hoping the dollar falls. As a matter of fact, I'm sure, Dynas, you probably have a lot of money invested in America, as so do I. But as far as what you said, Dynas, as far as the preparation piece, it's silly to not prepare. As a matter of fact, some of the wealthiest people in America have already been moving their money overseas, a lot of it. They're diversifying a lot more than what this country has ever seen. The passports have went up. The citizenship rates of mainly wealthy Americans, all those things are showing that there's an issue in America. And we have to understand that the history of the world, not just American history, because that would be just silly to go by that. We have to go by empires of the world in general. And this is not a hate on America, but every single time you only can go up so far before you come down, just like an airplane, just like a kite, or just like anything else. And America's been reigning now for a long enough period of time where it's about that time where it's time for someone else to take over. And unfortunately for America, like I said, I have a lot of money invested in America, and I'm starting to figure out ways to diversify on a more international scale. But I just wanted to put that out there. That's what really made me kind of comment. I just heard that. I said, I don't think people really want America to fall. At least not while their money is there.
I man a hand clap.
Give that man a hand clap.
Give that man a hand clap. Thank you.
Yeah, people don't really want America to fall. We have families. We have friends. We don't want America to fall, but that doesn't change the inevitable. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And just because we don't want that, just like Rome didn't want their empire to fall, British, they didn't want their empire to fall. Believe it or not, if you remember and you know history, America is the one that brought the Brits down. The World War, of course, had a lot to do with it, but it was the Americans they fought, and then they fought them again, and they lost both times, and then they didn't come back anymore. We have to understand America. Just recently, I don't know if you guys talked about this earlier, but America is already, China, if you watch Chinese news and they do the translation, China's already said there's conflict is inevitable. Conflict is inevitable with America by, 27? They told Taiwan, that your independence, you will not, basically, I'm paraphrasing, but they say you will not have independence by 2027. And they didn't care who was involved. And that was a shot at America. And America, their defense minister also said it is inevitable that we will be at war with China by 2027. Well, they didn't say war. They said military conflict by 2027. And with us in this China Sea, by the way, in case you didn't know, because it wasn't on the news here, but the United States, they're playing war games over there right now. We know they've been in Taiwan forever. But they sent an aircraft carrier over in the China Sea, and a China sub, a nuclear sub, chased them out. This was just a few days ago when we made the strikes on Syria after the so-called drone bombings. But see, this is not the stuff we see on regular news. But if you watch news in India, you watch news in China, Japan, they talk about these things. And it's obvious they're setting up for war. If you guys saw 60 Minutes 10 days ago, I think it was 10, 11 days ago.
I saw that.
If you saw the propaganda machine, the propaganda machine was at work. And you say you saw that. So you probably saw the propaganda machine at work watching the Republicans and the Democrats walking together and talking about, oh, our Navy's not strong enough. This is the preparation of the mind for the American that, hey, you're going to have to get behind us. You're going to have to get behind us so we can try and catch up with the 240 ships that China has, more than we have, 240 more ships than we have. And they're building even more, even faster. They started a new port in the China Sea, and they're preparing once again for war. This war has nothing to do with communism. It's gonna, like they say in the movie Shooter, they're gonna get on TV and they're gonna tell us this is about freedom for Taiwan, but this is about control of the South China Sea. And if you're familiar with macroeconomics and maritime economics, see, the China Sea carries about 1/3 of all imports in the entire world. So that's why the U.S. stay there. That's why they want Korea. That's why they need the Philippines. They need stuff to keep flowing. And the economy, the economic side of this, you guys, the economic side of this is America has nothing else to do. When the economy goes down, the America has nothing else to do. The biggest thing they have in their pocket is a war machine.
Darren, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
So real quick, how would that look, being that America does so much trade with China, like literally on everything we see is made from China? How would that look if America got into a war with China, as far as trade and economically? I assume a lot of that stuff would stop coming over.
Trade embargo. Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, that would turn into the war. See, China imports so much to America. As a matter of fact, about 50% of our trade, we rely on China. But here's the crazy part. Here's the catch. China relies on us too. About 50% of their GDP actually comes from the United States, which is a whole lot. But when I say GDP, I'm talking about as far as trade of goods and items. I'm not talking about oil and stuff like that and imports like that. But that's a lot of their money. A lot of their money comes from the United States. So that's why China isn't rushing to go to war with the United States, because I mean, economically, they need the United States. But
we are
the reason why this alliance of BRICS. I'm sorry.
We are the biggest.
I'm sorry.
We are the biggest buyers. So I agree with you, Dan.
Yeah, but we do have to understand something. The formal alliance of the BRICS, and it's not BRICS anymore. Remember, you guys, it's BRICS Plus. The formal alliance of BRICS Plus, and I think they're having a meeting in South Africa in August. This formal alliance of BRICS Plus is going to allow China to basically be able to deal with about 80% of the world in trade, and about 80% of the world is going to be involved. So we have to understand from an economic standpoint, China does about, I think it was 17 trillion a year in GDP, and the United States is 21 trillion. So if the United States is 21 trillion, they're 17 trillion. If they continue the route they're going, probably by 2027, they'll beat and call us. And even if they don't catch us,
I'm a mutual. There's just feedback coming from your end when we talk. So I'll pull up the article. I'm glad you brought that back. The BRICS have already surpassed the G7 when it comes to GDP.
And remember, that's BRICS. But China alone, we're talking about China alone has $17 trillion. We're not even talking about BRICS. But when you put BRICS, the whole BRICS, it's just, there's no comparison, Dynasty. There's really no comparison.
And I agree with
well, let me pass the mic. Let me pass it to Al, then I'm gonna pass it to Brandon. Go ahead, Al.
Good evening, family. Hi. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, basically what I was gonna say in terms of the gold, and I'll give an example. In the UK, 2008, when the previous government was in power, they sold a lot of the gold. And I don't know if you probably know, the pound is obviously used to be the strongest and the most valuable currency, which it still is. But unfortunately, when they sold a lot of the gold, they auctioned, in fact, the gold. Up till now, this current Conservative Party is one of their campaign strategy, saying the Labour government sold all the gold. So when the recession came, they was vulnerable. And then not long, they had Brexit. Since then, the pound haven't recovered. So no currency is actually, safe in this world. If the pound actually dropped, remember the pound was nearly 2-for-1 to the dollars, right? Before that happened. And today the pound and the dollar is not a lot of difference. So the dollar is going to fall, no doubt about it. It will fall.
Hey, can I say something real quick in response? Because I did hear you guys talking a lot about the gold. Okay, we have to understand gold is an important commodity, but gold is really not as important as you really think it is. As a matter of fact, we have to understand oil and food and that are actually way more valuable than the gold because you have to have it.
Thank you.
And the thing is, we have to also understand the same way if you guys didn't know this, the same people who control the central banks and made the US dollar the standard, they also control gold. They hold the golden papers and the gold reserves, and they're the ones who set the value for that. So even that's manipulated and can be manipulated at any time. So we have to understand the reason why China is going to have such great power is, first of all, I know Africa has a lot of gold, and that's a great thing, and they want gold. But the thing is, they're not going to have to use gold. They may use gold for a backing, but they don't really have to use gold as a backing. When you have this global trade block running on blockchain and everything is, transparent. I think you know a lot about blockchain, Dynas, right? Because you deal in blockchain.
Correct.
And yeah, everything is transparent. So what'll happen is countries will be able to see each other and see what others are doing. This may not seem real, but there's this level of we're so used to things being corrupt that you're going to see this level of transparency that you're just not used to. See, first of all, we all see China. We've been taught in the West, China, bad, bad, bad. We've been taught Russia, bad, bad, bad. We've been taught all these things. And of course, there are a lot of African nations that would disagree, of course, with the United States. And I'm not saying China is all good. I'm not here to say that, because I think they all got some, agenda. And I think their agenda is making sure they suck the resources out of the continent of Africa. But I just wanted to throw that out there, guys, about the gold. Let's not get too caught up in this whole gold thing and how much gold somebody has. Because if you base it on that, outside of the unmined, unrefined gold that Africa has, outside of that, these countries carry a lot of gold. And that would mean they would just stay on top because they control the reserve and the paper that says how much is worth. That means they're controlling that. So that means BRICS would be doomed to fail. It would just be doomed to fail anyway. So, and I don't think the Chinese are that dumb. They know they control it, and it would be doomed to fail if they based everything on gold. They're so past gold, it's going to blow your mind. I see it coming, and I can't get into the macroeconomic side so deep, you guys, but you got to really check the macroeconomics of why and how this is going to work. This is not a surface thing. This is not something that we're hoping for. This is something that's going to happen because the numbers just make sense. And I'll end it with that.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Go ahead, Brandon. I mean, at a certain point, you got to check your anti-Americanism at the door in favor of logical, rational thinking, which I think is a struggle for people in our community, because maybe America did a lot of bad things to us. And so we have this feeling like we want to see America not do well, not too stupid to realize that we're able to eat, feed our families and stuff based on being in America. Right. The reality is it doesn't matter what financial advice somebody give you on YouTube. America is creating the most millionaires year over year compared to any other country on the globe. Full stop. Nobody can argue with that. Nobody.
22
America's
million
also America.
We'll say this, Brandon.
Here we go.
That's on paper.
Let me just. Why when I say something factual, it has to be with this little disclaimer. Oh, Brandon, but that's
everything you're saying is on paper. Your whole claim is based on an article from a Chinese website. So if we gonna talk, if everything on paper don't count, you shouldn't have did this show, because your entire show is based on one article for a Chinese propaganda newspaper. So are things that are on paper up for in play? Let me just, I'm asking you a question. I'm just asking you a question. Are things that are on paper in play, or are they not in play?
They're in play.
That's just okay. Let's keep playing then. America's creating the most millionaires on the planet right now. All these countries y'all talking about. The country with the fastest vehicle to drive people towards wealth is the United States. Full stop. You can't argue with that. I'm going by factual, not hopeful, wishful thinking. Oh, but this and that, Brandon. We got to start using common sense. That's what's going to help us go forward. If you look at BRICS, name the nations in BRICS. Now go look at those nations and look how their economy is doing currently. If anybody has common sense, what they'll easily see is that this is China and Russia who are trying to come together to form a little economic bloc, and they're just trying to piece together other little countries just to slightly pass the GDP of the United States for the globe, right? It's not something that's sustainable. China's doing everything they can to manipulate companies to stay there because everybody wants to leave because the government. Okay.
Yeah, Brandon, you see in the UK right now, as we speak, the Chinese actually own a lot of the businesses here. They own, they actually own some of the nuclear plants.
But that's not so
deep.
But listen, that doesn't mean anything. I'm telling you guys right now, everyone looks at things like, oh, China owns this, China owns that, China owns this. None of that matters. You guys don't realize. Do you think if China owns a business in the United States, that means they own the United States? No. Just like if the United States owns a business in China, Apple owns a bunch of shit in China. Guess what happened when China made new regulations? Apple had to conform to those regulations, or guess what? Get their ass booted up out of there. So that stuff doesn't mean anything as far as like, oh, they own this and own that. All that stuff is based on what? That's based on economic deals. The point I'm making is Russia.
How you
Russia.
feeling now anyway? How you feeling now?
Hold on. Let him say his point. I want to hear the point.
Russia, China, India, Brazil. Guys, you can look at the countries that are in it and see that it's laughable. This is a joke. What is Brazil's economy doing? What is India's economy doing other than trying to send all their damn people over here to America so that they can have decent paying jobs?
Yeah,
you're not an economic power.
India is just liability when it comes to the BRICS.
You're not an economic You're not an economic powerhouse when your people can't wait to get the hell out of there. Okay, when your people are begging to get out of your country, you're not an economic powerhouse. India and China are mortal enemies. They're never going to do anything legitimately in favor of each other. And these are all loosely defined agreements. These things are not contractually obligating. These are just like little cliques. There's nothing on paper. These countries vote against each other in the UN every day. They're not true alliances. Just like the G7 is not even a true alliance. It's just that, hey, you got my back in case this happened, or you got my back in case this happened. Yeah. It's just a informal agreement. That's it. So when we talk about GDP, we need something that's concrete. That's all I'm saying before we start hanging our hat on it.
Hey guys, look. Hey, listen. Hey, real quick. Brandon, you have a great point. I agree. But remember, we are saying 17 trillion, and according to macroeconomics, it could take China probably as long as 2075 to actually pass the United States in GDP alone, if everything continues the way that it is. So he is correct. But I think you're missing something, Brandon. China, Russia, India, South Africa, they all know that they can't pass the US alone. And you have to remember, that is the whole purpose. The whole purpose of this is because they cannot pass the US. And when you have people joining up, no different than NATO, because you're kind of saying that the United States and NATO are the only people that are able to do something like this. And that's just not true. That means you're underestimating your enemy. You cannot.
That's not what I. That's not what I'm saying.
But you're saying it's like it's not gonna happen, and then you say name a single country. This is not a single country thing. It's not a single country.
Telling you,
they know they can't do it. They know they can't.
Okay, what is the GDP of South Africa?
I don't know the GDP of South Africa off the top of my head, but it's very small.
Yeah, it's very small. What is the GDP of Brazil?
I think it's under 100 billion. If I'm
what I'm trying to tell you, I'm not saying that this is impossible. What I'm telling you is you have to understand the difference between propaganda and somebody who's really a group who's truly trying to make a move. Now, if you had took something like Singapore, Kuwait, and like some other countries that UAE, and then mix them with like China, Russia, and get another like a Luxembourg, something like that, I could take it more seriously. Like, damn, these countries got great GDP, and they're wealthy countries. When I'm looking at BRICS, it looks like what China is known for doing best: cheap imitations. If you look at China, their entire
Brandon,
wait a minute, why do y'all interrupt?
What's the GDP? What's the GDP of Kuwait?
Look it up. You on the laptop?
Bring up Kuwait.
No, Kuwait is one of the richest countries in the world.
I'm about to say Kuwait got bread. I don't know what they be doing out there, but they got money.
This is what
the GDP of Kuwait is less than South Africa.
No.
Okay, what is the GDP of Kuwait?
Okay,
it's 106 billion.
Okay.
Okay, but Kuwait has
dollars worth more.
But Kuwait has oil. Listen,
Kuwait's GDP per capita is the highest in the world.
Listen, if you look at how small Kuwait is, Dynas, if you look at how small Kuwait is and how much oil they have, you'll understand why Saddam Hussein tried to invade Kuwait back in the 90s. What we're doing is we're looking at shit through a very narrow lens because we're just too lazy to look at everything from a macro view. We're looking for what we want to happen as opposed to what is actually going on. And I'm telling you, if you look at the global economy, you can see that what China is doing is what they do all the time. Make cheap imitations of something the United States is doing to try to bolster confidence in their country. And if you guys ever look at
Brandon,
hold on,
Brandon, if Africa, for
example,
example,
you brought up Kuwait and oil. Does Kuwait, and correct me if I'm wrong, does Kuwait produce more oil than Saudi Arabia?
No, that doesn't matter. Kuwait.
No.
That does matter.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it doesn't. Yo, they OPEC.
What I'm trying to say is
Kuwait's
GDP
oil all
per
the time.
capita. Look, Kuwait's GDP per capita is one of the highest in the world. Just because they don't make more oil than Saudi Arabia does not mean that they're not a strong company.
No, these guys don't understand basic economics, and that's what you realize when you get on these panels and these dudes start talking about economics. Just because the Negro mind says if you got something and it's worth something, you should sell as much of it as you can. A rational thinking mind says if I have something and I have a lot of it, let me make sure that when I sell it, I'm able to sell it for the best possible price I can get. And that's why countries like Kuwait will not have a higher oil export than Saudi Arabia. Why? Because Saudi Arabia has more oil than Kuwait. But for Kuwait's size, they have a huge amount of oil. But they
who
have
has
to
more
sell
leverage, Saudi Arabia or Kuwait?
No, that doesn't matter.
Yes,
what are you talking
about? We talking about
You're moving the goalposts. You're moving the
geopolitics.
Yeah,
listen, man. Listen,
America to their knees in the 70s when they.
Are you getting upset? Like, are you upset?
No, are you upset? You can't rebut.
Are you upset? No, you're not.
Are you going to
listen?
What's up? You guys are
You're not. Listen, guys. Just let me finish my point.
I ain't gonna lie.
Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point, man. The whole thing you got to understand is this guy's like, who has most leverage? That's just moving the goalposts, right? Because Saudi Arabia, they don't got really leverage. They got leverage because Joe Biden stopped oil production in the United States. Before that, they had no leverage. Their leverage is
America to their knees in the 70s.
You talking crazy now, bro.
I'm not
crazy, bro.
I just brought up the gasoline crisis in the 70s.
Now I'm talking crazy.
That was brought about by Saudi Arabia. I brought
Now I'm
that up
talking
already.
crazy.
And you said the first thing that happened was him and Joe Biden. No, that's what made America go there in the 70s and broker deals, because they realized how much power OPEC has. They have a oil cartel. That's what I'm trying to. Well, I think that's what most people
What you
trying to explain to you.
what you don't understand is that my father-in-law works in Saudi Arabia right now. He's a consultant for oil refineries. What they have is because the United States of America refuses to drill in certain areas within the United States, like Anwar and these different places. That is how Donald Trump turned the United States into a net exporter of energy, where we were actually shipping oil everywhere to other countries. When it comes to who has the most oil, the United States has way more oil than Saudi Arabia. If you knew
What
that,
does that have to do with the point we were just on?
Right.
What
It
is Trump-
has nothing to do
You know
with the
what
point,
I'm
Brandon.
saying? I'm making my point. Listen, you guys keep moving the goalposts so much, so let me address what
Saudi Arabia has no leverage.
let me say what I'm gonna
we
say.
right there. We're not going nowhere
Man,
else.
you guys be getting too emotionally attached to these
Now you're
topics.
calling us emotional. All right, here's
No,
your chance to make
you
a
won't
point.
even
Just
let
make
me
a
say
point.
what I have to say.
All right, do it.
I didn't interrupt anybody.
I know, but you so long-winded. So do
When
your
you're
thing.
talking, no, I'm not long. All right, anyway.
Can I come in after you, Brandon? Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm Giants decides that. What I'm telling you is, when you're talking about leverage, oh, this country has leverage, that country has leverage. No country has leverage. These are deals that countries make so that certain countries can basically support themselves based on exports. The only thing
so
Russia
we
has.
having deals without leverage? Come on,
Listen.
man.
Right, Brandon, come on, bro. You all over the place.
Oh my God.
Hey, go ahead, Derek.
All right.
Go ahead.
Hey, first of all, I think it's pretty. It's you almost sound like a president by to say another country doesn't have any leverage, and so I'm going to excuse that, because I don't think you meant that, because you wouldn't put sanctions on countries that don't have leverage, because there would be no need to. There would literally be no need to put a Russia.
If the countries had leverage, you wouldn't be able to sanction them.
Like I said, you wouldn't need to sanction a country if it didn't have any leverage at all. There would be no need for it. And so that doesn't even make sense. That would be like, that you might as well say China has no leverage. Russia has oil. It may not be the best oil, and it might be the little dirty oil that they make for diesel, but a lot of people use their oil. So to say that they don't have any leverage, I think is kind of ridiculous. And as far as Saudi Arabia, we do have to understand, I think it's Iran, Algeria, and Iraq, they've all applied to join BRICS. You can see that in Bloomberg and your U.S. magazines. So they've all applied. So let's not think that these other countries will not be involved. There are plenty of people interested in joining BRICS. I think they just said it on the news today that Venezuela has interest, and they haven't joined. And Venezuela has a lot. That's why they don't get sanctions, because they care about human rights so much. There's more than just human rights to this thing, Brandon. There's a whole lot of other factors that come into play when you're placing sanctions on countries. Oh, and that's another thing. You mentioned something about China and their fake imitations or whatever. But I mean, if you watch 60 Minutes the other day, even the U.S. didn't sound like they had an imitation military. They definitely don't have and like I said, I'm not even trying to be pro-China or anything else. Like I said, I'm down for the U.S. I got a lot of investment in the United States, and I need this U.S. to keep making me some money. But I mean, you said deal with facts. This is the U.S. naval commanders admitting that China is outgunning them, and they're going to outgun them with their large-sized military, even their ships alone. They said the U.S. has a whole lot of catching up to do. So I mean, I don't know where to. I don't know about you.
Listen, bro. You're sounding crazy as hell. Like, explain this to me then, since what you're saying is true, Darren, which that's totally asinine. How is one aircraft carrier gonna outgun like 50? I mean, like 20. Tell me that.
Well, if I got nuclear submarines sneaking up on the aircraft carrier, and you don't even know.
China doesn't even have. Listen, listen.
They don't have any
Who
submarines
has
either, right?
more? Who has more nuclear submarines?
Well, the
America.
I couldn't hear what Darren said.
Oh, I thought
America
I
has more nuclear submarines.
absolutely they have more than anyone. But even the U.S. Navy themselves said that China is outgunning and outbuilding them. So I don't. You can see that on 60 Minutes. If you want to get
Darren,
on
could that just been a scare tactic?
Explain how China's outgunning the United States Navy.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Just go watch 60 Minutes and let the general of the United States military explain.
I've already watched that. I've already watched what you watched, and what you're saying is taken out of context because he did not say they're outgunning them.
I can explain.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Can I ask Brandon a question?
You're right, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hear what you're saying, and it's kind of got to the point where it's like the other bull. So at the end of the day, I'm American. I got 4 African American grandparents. I like this nation. What can I do, or what should I do at this point?
What you need to do is keep saving your money, investing your money, and try to find different ways to gain wealth in this country or abroad or wherever you want to do it. All I'm telling people is the economy is global already. It doesn't matter all this little infighting among America, Russia. This economy is global. So to think that this dollar's gonna fall, this currency's gonna fall, it's not. What these countries are doing is just trying to insulate themselves from being sanctioned by America in the event that they do something that America doesn't approve of. China right now, after watching what happened to Russia, they're trying to insulate themselves from American sanctions because they want to go after Taiwan. They know the first thing that's going to happen when they try to do that is the United States is going to impose all these sanctions on them. So what they're doing is they're preemptively insulating themselves from those sanctions. The only problem is China's military is incredibly inept. They're not going to actually be able to take Taiwan like everyone. I don't know why people have this delusion that China's military is so, oh my God, they're going to do all this. The guys have like 1, maybe 2 aircraft carriers. They have like maybe 2 old, like,
Brandon, what happened to NATO in the Sahel and in Afghanistan?
You said in the Sahel,
in the Sahel and Afghanistan, where they got kicked out. They're supposed to be the military might of the world.
That's a ground military. That's not the Navy.
Yeah, boy, it's still military.
Yeah.
War is
So
war.
what we can do?
Hold on.
So what we can wait.
Don't mean it's the Navy.
So what we can do?
Ground military.
What we can do?
That's not just America. That's not.
Listen.
Yeah.
So what we can do is what happened to NATO? What happened to this and that? Here's the reality. We could bet some money on it. It doesn't matter what you want to do. All analysis, even Chinese analysis, are telling you that China cannot beat the United States in a naval war. America has nuclear subs sitting at the bottom of the South China Sea right now that China can't even detect. You guys don't really understand the capabilities of these militaries. Just like when they
China got the same thing that the US cannot detect, and the Russian they
don't. And
the Russian also. I had that on the radio in the UK.
Let me interject. Hold on 1 second. One mic. I'm reading the transcripts from this 60 Minutes interview that Darren's bringing up. The Admiral Samuel Paparo said that China has the largest navy in the world.
No, by numbers. By numbers.
Yes.
By numbers.
That's numbers. A bunch of old.
But he said that let's see. Right. So China has but he's concerned that they're building up their navy to like. Yeah. Aaron's right. The guy is. I'm sitting here reading it right now.
Okay. So Dynas, allow me to explain it.
Wait, I'm trying to hear what Dynas is talking about. Dynas, what are you saying?
So basically, he's. From reading these transcripts, it's confirming what Darren was saying in regards to America's concern in China's.
They don't want.
No, Darren. Darren said that the United States Navy. Wait, real quick. Listen, Darren said his own words. He said that the American Navy is outgunned by the Chinese Navy. That's what Darren said. Now you're saying that the admiral said China has more Navy vessels.
Well,
There's
they
a
have the largest
difference.
Navy in the world, so I mean,
yeah, by numbers.
Dinus, if you have to understand what they mean. I do research on this stuff. Now I don't touch it on one day and then forget about it. All types of small boats, gunships, all this little stuff that basically is combat ineffective against an aircraft carrier or a submarine. Just because you have a bunch of small boats doesn't mean you are outgunning a country with big ass aircraft carriers, warships, and all that stuff. So yes, China is winning the numbers game, but will those numbers give them a victory over the United States Navy? No. You could just you could fight 1 million midgets. That's not gonna
It depends. Do you believe in aliens? Like when they show these footage of all these UFOs supposed to be zipping around America.
What the hell you talking about, bro?
No, what I'm talking about is I don't believe that's a UFO. The government is showing this footage. I think what they're really trying to say is somebody is out there on planet Earth.
Well, okay, I gotta mute you, bro. So with that being said, you got Vietnam, you had Afghanistan, Iraq. The I guess the technology and the numbers really matter when we be getting our ass kicked wherever we go.
So okay,
if you look at the context, see, you guys say things with no context of the type of engagements those were. It's easy to just say, well, look, the United States lost in Vietnam. Oh, the United States. Well, what about when the United States went through Iraq in twice in like a few minutes? Like a couple days, and didn't lose barely anybody. No, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
But Brian, look how long it took them to leave.
What I want you to look up, for the sake of the people who want to know the reality, look up how many aircraft carriers China has versus the United States, and how many nuclear
China has 2, America has 11.
Okay, and how many nuclear submarines they have?
They don't have any nuclear submarines.
No, wait. How many nuclear submarines? How many nuclear submarines does the United States have?
They have more than China. Specifically, I don't know.
But they have more than Russia. They have more than anybody in the whole world, and the numbers actually undisclosed. Nobody really knows. They give out. But what I'm telling you is, if we're fighting a game where it's like, yo, we have enough firepower to wipe people out, like to totally obliterate whole cities, at the end of the day, whoever has the most highly capable equipment, that's who's gonna win.
Okay,
it doesn't matter.
Hold on.
That was my only point. I wasn't trying to come across pseudo, but somebody running around with military technology.
Brandon, that's not gonna happen.
Allow me to say something.
You're still talking. One mic. Let Darren talk and no one talk. There's an echo.
Hey, Brandon, that whole nuclear thing that you're talking about, I know the U.S. did it in Nagasaki and Hiroshima and all that kind of good stuff. But if you haven't been around lately, this whole nuclear thing, it's kind of played out, and you and I are old enough to know how bad it was when everyone was talking about nuclear. And while people talk about nuclear, it doesn't look like anyone really plans on using nuclear anymore. So as far as who has the most powerful weapons, I don't even know if that matters so much, because they already know that that's a war no one in the world can win anymore. And so that's not a war to fight. So as far as who has the most powerful and all that, we all got powerful weapons. One nuclear bomb could destroy New York coming from Russia, and we got one that can destroy Moscow. So I don't want to get into the whole who has.
When did I say anything about nuclear?
Well, you said most powerful advanced weapon.
This is how America's Navy is set up. Okay, so you have 2 naval stations, one in San Diego, 2 large naval stations, one in San Diego, one in Norfolk, Virginia. They also have submarines. Another submarine port is in Bangor, Maine, and in Kings Bay, Georgia. So the Pacific Fleet got the Pacific Fleet and the Atlantic Fleet.
Does the Pacific Fleet have enough ships and submarines to take on China and their numerous not battleships, but destroyers? Contrary to popular belief, a destroyer can inflict severe damage to a aircraft carrier. It really can. So it takes time for the Pacific. If America wants to transfer the Atlantic Fleet to the Pacific Fleet, they're not going to do that because they have Russia, and Russia's nuclear submarines are in either Vladivostok, which is in the Pacific Fleet, face the Pacific Fleet, or in some of the non-frozen over ports that are near Finland and Sweden. So if America's Pacific Fleet do not have enough firepower to take on China, and there is strength in numbers, you do have a fight there. Coupled with what Russia is doing to bankrupt, not I won't say bankrupt, but America is sending arms to Ukraine. There's already controversy saying that America is depleting its artillery by sending a lot of artillery to Ukraine. So there is, if America,
how many nuclear subs does Russia have?
We don't know.
They don't even have any. They have none.
They do have nuclear submarines.
How do you know?
Can you look that up? Donis, look it up.
That's not true.
Yes,
how do you
look
know?
it up. They might have one. They might have one. They might have one.
No,
they might have one.
Russia do have nuclear submarines.
No, see, this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing.
Brandon.
Wait. Let me say this. Wait a minute, Jody. Let me say this. It's so funny how when I say something that I learned on the internet, it's laughable. But when you guys get up here saying all types of stuff that y'all just pulled out of y'all ass, that makes total sense. If we're gonna say it's all hogwash, then it's all right. You guys have Donis. How many do they have? How many do they have?
They got
Brandon, please.
How many do? Listen, I asked a simple question.
Listen, bro. Ain't nobody wasting their time arguing about Russia.
I asked a simple question.
Ain't nobody gonna waste their time. Next subject. Let's move on. Go ahead.
Okay. 2004, the Russian submarine got stuck underneath the Baltic Sea somewhere around Russia, and basically they were there for days, and it was quite embarrassing for the Russians those days because they had to rely on the UK to go over there to rescue their people from the water, because the UK was one of the few countries that have the technology to go down the deep waters to actually get these people out. But Russia did land a lot, and it was quite embarrassing for them. Since then, they upgraded their submarine, nuclear submarine system. Going forward, in terms of the BRICS, my biggest the most positive side of the BRICS in the future is basically the green technology, because all this oil that we're talking about, like all these countries that we're talking about earlier, like the Saudi Arabia, the US, oil is going. The whole world is going against oil, and now it's all about they are in the UK, for example, and in America. The UN obviously already set a goal for these countries to move away from oil, and also right now in the UK, they're slowing down producing petrol and diesel cars for electric cars. So that's what I'm saying. If Africa was to join the BRICS in terms of not only military, but like economical power, I can see Africa and the BRICS having more advantage than the West. So because we have all the minerals and all the stuff to produce this stuff for the future, but obviously have to do this thing right.
Okay, so I say no, because they can say that, but actually building out the systems is two different things. Yes, Africa and other places around the world have the minerals to create electric batteries, but the amount that's needed to build out their system is going to take a long time to build that system.
It's going to take BRICS.
In the UK, for example, most of the oil companies like Shell, BP, the UK government already told them the profit that you made over the years, keep it. Divert that money into green technology, because that's where we're going.
Again,
so you can see they're already moving. They're already moving.
But if you, this is the whole thing which I keep telling y'all This stuff is just gaslighting. If these countries really cared about going against fossil fuels, they would just go nuclear because that's the cleanest form of energy in the universe.
Well, that's what you know how these people are like.
But
they're going to make it so difficult for you to drive a petrol and diesel car. Then you have no choice. You have to drive electric. It's already happening.
But what I'm telling you is,
this is nouting.
But what I'm telling you is, this is nothing but a power shift. They're trying to move the wealth from the oil companies, from the fossil fuel companies, to the green energy companies. None of this is done to save the planet. None of this is done to actually make the environment more safe.
No, I know that.
This is all about money.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm trying to say financially, we'll be better off. The BRIC will be better off if they have people, continent like Africa, the Middle East, Russia, China. Forget about India. India, they only need India for the population. I don't think they're really useful in the BRIC. But obviously, if you got like Brazil, Africa, Russia, China, working together.
I have a question. We can all talk about the BRICS, and we just talk because to us it's just numbers, right? It's just an acronym, right? It's letters. But who wants to see the economy of the world taken over by authoritarian regimes? I don't really understand. I don't understand. I understand.
That's what I said.
Well, I think the counter argument is the United States imposed so much sanctions.
Here we go.
That's the authoritarian.
But wait a minute. Listen.
My country says I don't
wait a minute, Fox.
Absolutely.
This, or I don't want to deal with that. Then the authoritarian regime, in their eyes, is the United States of America imposing sanctions on them. So that
is authority called by another name.
Fox. No, it's really not, because if you look at the people in those places who speak out against the place where they're from, where they live, and where they come from. The authoritarian, it's easy to be like, oh, well, we're the authoritarian to them, but it's in reality.
It's a different method.
That's the reality.
It's just a different method.
Those people.
I just want to get through one sentence.
Have true democracy.
I just want to get through one sentence.
The United States is telling you what to do.
I just want to get through one sentence.
Let him go, brother. Let Brandon go.
I want to get through one sentence. Okay.
One sentence. You asked a question. I'm trying to answer it. And I barely got a chance to speak, but you started cutting me off.
This guy said,
all right, so
the United States.
Just wait for it.
The United States is telling you what to do. Okay, so you're telling me, Fox, you would rather live under the People's Republic of China than the United States. You feel like you have more freedom.
Your question.
No, I'm asking you a question.
I'm answering your question.
No, you're not.
So you cut me off already. If I live in a place,
do you believe? But you don't live there. But you don't live there. I'm asking you a basic question. Would you prefer?
You don't want the question answered because you know it was a goofy question.
I want the question I asked you to be answered.
That's why
I want the question that I'm asking you to be answered.
Do your thing, yo.
Would you prefer to live
under? Man, can you be civil,
do
guys?
your thing. Like you don't want this anyway. If I live in a place,
I don't want what? You're just trying to
use my feet, and I say, hey, okay, look, we're gonna get this, and we're gonna nationalize this, and everybody's gonna get a paycheck based off of this. Same way, let's say Venezuela did, and then the U.S. government comes and impose sanctions on me.
Oh my God!
That's why people. That's the incentive.
I knew it.
That's the incentive for people.
I knew it, Dinus.
To disagree with being under the U.S. authoritarian regime.
So you believe you truly believe, right, that that these governments are going to create an economy where they're going to basically they're going to make everything public owned, and then everybody in the country is going to get a check.
No. Zimbabwe tried to reclaim the land from the colonizers, and what did the U.S. do?
You just brought up Venezuela.
That belongs to white people.
You just
them, or we gonna put sanctions on you. South Africa talked about doing the same thing, and Donald Trump, who has nothing to do with South Africa, said, "Oh, if that ever happens, there's gonna be
Gaddafi.
For it. Stop playing with me, bro."
Wait. Okay.
What?
Listen.
Hold on.
Wait.
Hey, Brandon. When you say authoritarian regime, I have to agree with the brother here. They are not authoritarian regime. Hold on. They're not towards us here in the United States, and maybe not even their British counterparts and whatnot. But as far as how they treat the world, they absolutely are. Because
Okay,
Dinus, even with us, Dinus.
it's not a democracy.
So
Either you do what the U.S. says, or you will be taken down.
let me get this clear. Let me get this clear. We have a bunch of grown black males who think that there's going to be a world where the governments are going to make mute your mic. You got feedback, Aaron. We believe that there's going to be a world where the government is going to make everything publicly owned and then distribute checks out to everybody, and everybody's going to be happy.
So you're just going to dance around the Zimbabwe point?
Bro, the
Zimbabwe
Zimbabwe
South Africa point that Africans will never reclaim their land point.
The Zimbabwe point is like it's not even a point, because the reason why Zimbabwe couldn't do what they tried to do is because Mugabe was stealing all the money. So that has nothing to do with the white man.
Narrative.
I disagree.
All right, that's fine.
I disagree.
All right. So the guy.
Everything I answer, you gonna go with the Western narrative. That's cool.
What I want to tell you, bro, I don't need to go with it. See, and that's what I'm saying. We gotta get to. We got to get to a point where we want to be mature about things, not just take the emotional route of, oh, that's the Western narrative. The guy had his sons living in Europe, driving $100,000 cars, wife going on multi-million-dollar shopping sprees in Paris, in a country that was broke. When you look at,
why would they put sanctions on him then, on the country then?
Because that's what happens to you when you do things that are illegal based on international law. If someone bought land,
Hey Brandon, you live in their land. Your head is in the sand, and I'm gonna say that because you know what?
Wait a minute, Darren. Wait a minute, Darren.
No, you put forth a question. You gotta let people answer the question. Your original question was,
Brandon, go back to excuse me, guys, but that's some foul stuff to say. They're gonna put sanctions on Uganda because I guarantee it, because they don't want to accept the alphabet community. They put sanctions on Rwanda, threatened sanctions on Rwanda because they wouldn't take their raggedy old used clothes. They're talking about sanctions. So what do you? I can't even believe that you would say that they're violating international laws because I don't want your clothes.
So you took
sanctions on our country. Because you took the alphabet community. That has nothing.
So Darren, what I want to point out is you took what we were talking about Zimbabwe, you jumped all the way to Uganda, Rwanda, all these places.
No, that was overall.
No. He was answering your question, your original question.
This is all I'm saying. It's just pure hypocrisy. All these men.
Brady, you all one today, bro.
I'm not on one. I'm not on one.
Brady, you all one.
I'm not on one.
Brady, you all one today, bro.
Listen, this is called being the realist.
This full of boys out here bullying.
Listen. No, I'm not.
In bully mode, man.
No, I'm not in bully mode.
He's being a realist, so it's okay. It's okay to put sanctions on the country.
Your question was, do we want to go give ourselves over to an authoritative country? But that when you pose that question, that assumes that America is not one, and that is false. And everyone is bringing up points to show that is false.
I didn't say America was an authoritative country.
Did you hear what I said? You said you phrased the questions as if it was not. You don't have to say it outright. You phrased the question. So why would you say, do we want to give ourselves over to authoritative country, assuming China or Russia? Which means that America is not one. We don't know how to phrase questions now?
What I simply asked was, would you prefer to live under the PRC or would you prefer to live under the United States? I never said the United States was an authoritarian regime, because it is. But I asked a question. I asked the only question that matters when talking to niggas, the one that makes them say the truth about what they would prefer. Because it's easy for me to sell you some bullshit, but I'm not going to eat it. You can sell it to somebody, but you're not going to eat it. So my question, you lead Clinton, the guy who's jumped up here, who's going to check me. Would you prefer to live under the PRC or the United States? Simple.
If you asking me what I prefer, you asking me? Are you asking me? The answer is neither.
So where you
Neither.
gonna live?
Where you living at now?
Where's he gonna live? I want to ask him.
Where you living at
So now you're asking me another question. I just answered your first one. So now you're asking me another question.
Yes. Where are you gonna live? Because these two countries ain't going out of business for the next 100 years. So where are you gonna live?
I'm going to live wherever possible. That's now we're going back to the original point of this whole panel, which is to diversify yourself. Be quiet while I speak. That's your problem. Now we're going back to the be quiet while I speak. Shut your mouth.
Is you.
That's your problem.
Is you.
Shut up. You keep talking over people. Shut up. Shut up.
This is pure BS.
Shut your mouth. You ask a question and you talk over.
Neither.
Shut up.
Go ahead.
Shut up.
Go ahead, Lee. I want to hear it. Go ahead, Lee.
Now we're going back to the point of the original conversation of this panel, which is to diversify yourself, which is to have an open mind, which is to have a globalist mind, because the people who we live under are globalists. The people who run this country, they don't give a damn about America. They have homes all over this globe. So we have to have an open mind as well. You understand? So whether it's, I don't want to, there's no precontense how authoritative China is or Russia is. No one is saying that we want to jump ship from America and be under them. The point is, as Pan-Africans, we don't want to be under no one but ourselves. And as Pan-Africans, we understand that is a generational pursuit. That is not going to be in my time period. So yes, I know they're not going to be going nowhere in the next 100 years, but we have to put forth steps to see that we have our own sovereignty. That's the answer, Brandon.
Can I respond to that, please? I know common sense doesn't get respect on this panel, but the whole thing is...
So now you want to throw insults. Just answer the question without the insults.
We have to be able to generate money to do anything, right? And the best system to do that under right now that we are sure in is the one we're currently living under as far as being in the United States. Now, if you guys who don't want to live under nobody and we need to live under ourselves, which I agree with that, who wouldn't want to live under themselves? But if you want to get there, you're going to get there a lot quicker with the economy that you know than you are rolling the dice over here. Oh, China, BRICS and all this shit. You're going to get there faster with what you know. We could make a lot of money in the United States if we wanted to, but most of us don't. We don't have that desire. What I do know is this country is creating the most millionaires out of any country in the world.
Okay, so
I like those odds. I like those odds.
There's always a transition from one ruling country to the next. Always a transition. It's never, okay, this one abruptly stops and this one abruptly starts. It's always a transition. And throughout that transition, people who come into power always take things from the people that was in power. So there's always a transition. Case in point, China. China used to be a more authoritarian country. Now it's more of a mixed country. There is capitalism in there. So they took the capitalistic ways of America and applying it into their economy, in which they're going to carry it to the future. So as people that want to live in Africa, black diasporans that want to live in Africa, you're going to undoubtedly take cues from the country that you live in and take it to whatever African country that you want to build up. There's always a transition. That's what I want to input to this current topic.
Brandon knows that. That's why he has land in Kenya. He just wants to. Go against the grain.
What you guys don't understand is that you're never gonna do any of this crap you guys are talking about and keep your hands clean. The reality is black people aren't willing to do what's necessary to get to the point that we claim we want to get to. When you're still talking about the United States and the UK destabilizing and murdering, yeah, you're going to have to murder and destabilize to get to where you're trying to be. If not, guess what? You're not going to have any power, not in this world. Because why? If you're unwilling to kill, the person who's willing to kill is always going to come through and have more leverage over you by simply saying, okay, hi, you peaceful niggas, and blow your head off. So Look at what China's doing. Look at all these countries. So while they're staying dangerous, you niggas is talking about utopia and and trying to be the moral police of the world. You're not the moral police of the planet. You're not.
No one said that.
I agree with that bit.
That's what you guys are acting like.
I agree with that bit there, Brandon.
If you want freedom,
we need to be ready. If we want to be relevant, we need to be ready. That's a fact. No one can deny that.
Nah. They think they're gonna walk around with flowers and be like, "Yes, we're the moral unicorns of the planet." If you ain't ready to crack some eggs to make an omelet, then you're in the wrong conversation. And I believe African countries could do that.
But you just got to remember, nothing is permanent. Years ago, it used to be the Roman Empire. Before that, it was the Egyptian. Before that, it was the Greek. No, anyway, maybe I've gone different way, but we had the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, Mesopotamia, different empires. Nothing is permanent. Things move around. That's nature as well.
Exactly. So, things do move around, and we have to be prepared for that. But are these people prepared? See, people think, this is shifting. Yay!
At the show. Hence what I said
Listen,
at the beginning.
People say, yay, this is changing. Not even realizing how unprepared they are for the change. Let's say China takes over the United States. You know how many of you are going to starve to death? Millions. And if there's 40 million of us, probably 30 million of us are going to starve to death. Why? Because these things take time, and certain countries have different values when it comes to taking care of their population. How will you get by? How will you get by for a bunch of Negroes?
And Brandon, that's the whole point of this conversation. Have options. Like you got Kenya. Diversify. That's the whole purpose of this convo.
And what I said earlier.
Yeah, that's what I asked you earlier, Brandon. What should we do?
Exactly.
And what I said earlier, way an hour ago, I said that just because BRICS are, let's say BRICS taking over, that doesn't specifically mean that they'll be better than what.
Joe, let's back out. Let's just back up for a second. Okay, Jody, do you think Black people here in America should have options outside of America?
Yes.
Okay, so what are we arguing about?
But I said that numerous of times earlier.
Section 8 and food stamps.
So what are we arguing about?
What are you talking about? Section 8 and food stamps?
It seems like Jody
you get on here and act like you got it going on so tough, and it's probably people on here that are doing a lot better than you, a lot better. And you know what? I kind of hate you do that a lot. I listen to you a lot, but you are the biggest expert every single time you come on, and you always like to say what Black people's thing is. Actually, I ain't never been on no food stamps or Section 8. And most of my family members, I probably got a couple cousins here and there. I know no doubt about it. But most of my family, especially my immediate family, my sisters and brothers, we don't do that stuff. So why you always get on here and then you got to go to the options for Black folks and what they do?
What's wrong with Section 8 and food stamps?
I ain't saying why'd you say it in a sarcastic manner? Like, yeah, that's their choice.
I didn't say anything in a sarcastic manner.
You said it.
Now you backpedaling.
Right? Okay.
I don't need to. I think Black people should mute your mic, Darren. Damn, you can criticize me, but you can't criticize yourself and mute your mic when you're done talking. I think Section 8 and food stamps is a great option for Black people. I think those things actually allow Black folks to free up a lot of their income. A lot of people on Section 8 is driving better cars than me, Mercedes and everything else, because they put something in their mama name, their granny name, whatever. I think we should exploit the entitlements in a way that helps us to actually invest in big ways in other places.
Are you doing that? That's what you're doing?
I buy food stamps.
All
the time.
Buying food stamps and going to get on food stamps.
I buy food stamps all the time. You can get 300 for 150. That allows me to have more of my money in my pocket. Who wouldn't do that? That's what I'm saying. We're not even exploiting the shit that's at our like disposal to increase our liquid cash flow so that we can invest. What we do is we sit up and talk about what ifs and what should we do? What's the solutions? And I've said this a long time ago. Stop stop listening to people saying what's the solutions, because if you don't tell them the solutions they want, they're not gonna want to listen to you. They're gonna criticize you. Brandon's the agent and da 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 da. Dude, you Negroes are more American than anybody.
Ignore
That's the
those comments,
reality.
Brian. You don't listen. You know that better than anyone. You don't look at those comments down there. You should come better than that.
Someone's going to ask me a question. Someone's going to ask me a question. So I don't know, somebody said my name.
Oh, I was saying that originally it seemed like in the beginning what you were saying was more based off of what people were saying as far as talking down against America, talking down against the dollar, when all we were saying is that it's good to diversify, and also looking at geopolitics and framing what you're going to do according to the way the world is moving.
Okay, so allow me respond to that. I'm saying that specifically for the people talking bad against the dollar who's living in America. And two, I do agree with diversifying. And three, I forgot what the third point you said, but can you read the third point you said?
Jody, you got to be pretty dumb to speak down on the money that's sitting in your bank account. You got to be absolutely stupid to pray for the fall of the dollars that's sitting in your bank account. Now that show you where we are mentally.
Yeah. And that's what I was specifically talking about. For those that living outside America, sure, pray for the downfall for the dollar. Okay, they may or may not benefit from it whatsoever. But for those who get paid in dollars and you want the downfall of the dollar, that's something else. Come on, man.
Nah, it's just
Jody,
like
do you think it's going that way anyway?
Well, it's just like people. It's just like people sell Bitcoin. It's just like people sell Bitcoin and all this garbage. They sell it for dollars, but tell you, oh, the dollar is falling, so you need to buy Bitcoin. Okay, well, let me get some Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, but you got to pay me in US dollars for that. See, it's all bullshit. See, so that's the whole thing. It's smoke and mirrors that they're selling you. And that's what this whole.
You buy gold in dollars, too.
Okay.
Bro, let me tell you this. Wait, let me say this about the gold thing real quick. I promise this will be. Wait, listen, let me say this real quick. Let me say this very short. Take a gold brick, okay? Go to the grocery store, fill your basket up with groceries. Take that bitch through the line. When they ring you up and say, oh, your total is $550, try to give them a gold brick in exchange for them groceries. Guarantee you they won't take it.
Purpose of it, Brandon.
Okay, so
no, that's not the purpose of it.
Allow me to respond to what Lee said. I do think at some point, American dollar is going to cease to be the world reserve currency. When that will be, I don't know. Yes, I do agree that you should diversify yourself in case that comes either now or in the future. When will it come? I don't know. But I don't think it will come because because all of a sudden you have a greater number of people talking about it because of the economic climate in America. These type of things take a very long time to play out. And when they do play out, they play out all of a sudden.
So my point is that, in my opinion, it's going to go that way regardless. When we see what America's doing, and if you even look at how much money they gave Ukraine, over $70 billion, they don't have money for the infrastructure of America, so on and etc. So inevitably, it's going to get that way. So for us to, like some of our ancestors say, attach ourselves to a sinking ship doesn't make economic sense or any kind of sense or any logical sense. If we're playing the long game, we should not be attached to America as far as having this this American pride and we shouldn't want the America. It's not even about that. That's not even the argument, because we're supposed to look at as Pan-Africanists. I assume all of us are. We're supposed to be looking at it from our own interests. So there's no. The loyalty begins with us and our people globally. That's it. Not this country, not the country that we live in or anything else.
Let me say this. Okay, let's say I got Sierra Leone citizenship, but I'm receiving American income. I'm going to receive American income through investments, business deals, however, which way I get American income, and then take it to Sierra Leone to buy however much land, businesses, streets, whatever I can buy. I'm not going to just jump ship because I think, American dollar going down. You got this BRICS coming up over here. Let me just dump my American access, and then go over here. No, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use
Jody, who said dump it?
That makes perfect sense.
Nobody would suggest that. Nobody ever
who said
suggested that.
That's what I'm saying, Jody. Who said dump it?
I'm not saying anybody on this. Okay, you know what? I got to differentiate. I'm not saying anybody on this panel said dump it, but in the aggregate, when you hear Black people on Black YouTube talk about the specific subject, they're talking about it in that manner.
So what you said, that makes perfect sense. That you know, I don't see anyone arguing against that. You know, that's the idea. You know, to use the money you have to make it work for you in Africa. But my whole thing is the loyalty part of it, as if, you know, we have this undying devotion, and to me, that's just the wrong mindset to have. We need to have a sovereign mind frame. That's not pie in the sky. That's being realistic. Everyone has that mind frame. When we on a macro level, when we look at Russia, China, these countries, they're in it for themselves. And we, even though we're not those countries, even though we're scattered, we have to start to think like that. And then we have to do what we can individually with the hopes that those individual steps will help all of us. Just like Brandon bought land in Kenya. You understand? There's an end game to that. You understand? And that's something that we all should be doing. So, you know, it's not a thing of going back to what you're saying to people. It's not a thing of, oh, you know, the dollar, oh, look what BRICS is going on. The dollar's going, oh, yeah, good for them. No, it ain't about that. It's where do we fit in? That's the whole point. Where do we fit in?
And one more thing, just because America will lose its global, well, the American dollar will win whenever that happens, lose its global reserve currency, that doesn't mean America will cease to be a top 2, top 5 economy in the world. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be able to make money around the world. Well, true. It's still going to be able to make money. So yes, diversify yourself. Yes, have assets in different areas around the world. Have money in different countries, banks around the world. Yes, but I'll just leave it at that.
All right, Wilford, go ahead, Wilford. Then we'll close out.
Oh, thank you. Basically, thank you all for talking about topics, because I didn't know much about. That's the reason why I didn't basically talk. But I just wanted to address you, Diners, and to talk to you directly, to tell you to go and check the channel of Philippe Simo. He's a French-speaking, basically he got the biggest Francophone YouTube channel, and he talks about business. He's got around 700K subscribers, and I think you would really win talking to this guy, because he has business in Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire. That's something I wanted to tell you the last time, but I couldn't. So sorry if it's off topic, but yes,
no problem.
Interesting.
Had to be said.
Yeah,
I wrote it in the chat, basically in the private chat. The name of his channel, it is Investir au pays. It means investing in the homeland in French.
Okay,
I'll let you know.
Okay, cool, perfect. Brilliant. All right, everyone.
Dennis, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go
before
ahead.
we close out. I just want to say, like, you know, as brothers, when whatever the topic is, I think we should have a mindset of, instead of arguing and talking over one another, we should have a mindset of building. When I come into this topic, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of the 2 hours that we're here, I was quiet because there was a lot of things that I don't know. So I'm actually learning. And I don't look at us or the people on the panel as enemies. If I have something that I object to, I will ask a question, and I keep an open mind, because I know that the information that I came in this conversation with might change. So I think we just have to have that type of spirit where, you know, we're building with one another and not arguing with one another. It's just a different type of mindset. That's all I have to say.
No problem. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, that is Mere Search for Huru. Peace.